Hey guys, how we doing? So, we're back on another Swagkage video, and he's discussing how strong were the Sound 4. I think this is really interesting, because I loved the Sound 4 when they were introduced. The whole Sasuke taken away, the fights were incredible. I do believe they were quite strong. I mean, what was the thing that popped in my head before starting recording this? One point I wanted to make was that they were able to create a barrier that trapped the fourth Hokage in, the Orochimaru. That's like, you know, obviously it took all four of them, but that's still something like quite impressive. The fights they had with the guys were just amazing. Like, they were that strong that like the main characters nearly died all fighting them. Like they were close to death in victory. They were strong. So anyway, let's get Swagkage's opinion on the matter, because obviously I'm not the professional. He is. Let's do this.
How's it going, everybody? Swagkage here, and welcome to today's video. A video I'm worried nobody's really going to care about because it's about the Sound 4. Everybody remembers who these guys are, but as far as I'm aware, nobody really cares about them, which is a shame because, I mean, at least in my opinion, I think these were some of the coolest villains we ever got. I was actually tempted to mention them in the underrated characters video I made a couple weeks back, but I decided against it just because I didn't want to condense 4 characters into one slot, and I figured I was going to talk about them later anyway. Now, of course, this video isn't about how much I like what I think of them or anything like that. We're going to be talking about how strong they are. Cool. And to avoid wasting time, I'm going to go ahead and say that they're the weakest out of all the Part 1 villains, and they're definitely weaker than anybody we saw in Shippuden. That said, they're not quite as weak as a lot of people seem to think they are, and that's why I decided to make this video. Now, there are a couple of important things worth keeping in mind when on this topic, and the first is that all 4 of them are only 14 years old. That's not super relevant to how strong they actually are at the present moment, but it does speak to the insane amount of potential that they have.
Yeah,
had these guys gotten a time skip power boost akin to the other main characters, they would have been much more threatening. But again, that's not super relevant because they're all dead, so they're not going to get any stronger, but it's just fun to think about. Anyway, the other thing worth keeping in mind about them is that they're all at their strongest when they're working as a team. While they're all clearly capable of fighting on their own, a team composed of all 4 is much stronger than the sum of its individual parts. As a group, they're able to cover the individual weaknesses of the other members and allow their respective strengths to become more prominent. Now, you could argue that this is true in the case of any group of people, but it's especially true in the case of the Sound 4. They all fight at different distances using unique approaches to combat and are proficient with at least 2 of the 3 major schools of jutsu: ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu. Sakon's a close-up rushdown fighter, Jirobo's a short to medium range tank, Taiyuya's a mid to long range genjutsu and summoning jutsu specialist, and while Kidomaru can handle himself at all ranges, he's most comfortable fighting at mid to long range. What's unfortunate is that we don't get to see them working as a group very often.
No, it doesn't happen. They get separated after individual fights.
Like creating a massive barrier that was, for all intents and purposes, impenetrable. Not even Hiruzen could break through it, and nearly killing 2 Tokubetsu Jonin who served as the elite guards of the 4th Hokage. It wouldn't be fair of me to mention this without bringing up the fact that one of them does say they were practically out of chakra because they had just completed a mission when they were approached by the Sound 4, so that does make the feat quite a bit less impressive, but it's something that they absolutely, positively wouldn't have been able to do if they were all like fucking Genin level or whatever. They were also heavily exhausted and a little bit wounded by this encounter, which translates to them being significantly weakened before their respective fights with the Leaf Genin. On top of that, none of the Sound 4 were defeated in a fair one-on-one fight, aside from Kidomaru, who had to fight Neji, the strongest of the Sasuke retrieval team. Jirobo lost because Choji brought a pill with him that multiplied his strength by 100 times. Sakon's fight with Kiba was interrupted by the arrival of Kankuro, and Taiyuya's fight with Shikamaru was interrupted by the arrival of Temari. So one of them lost because their opponent practically opened up the 8th gate, and the other 2 lost because their one-on-one fight turned into a one-on-2 fight. Anyway, speaking of the fights that the Sound 4 took part in, let's go ahead and start analyzing their individual abilities. They don't have a lot of panel time, but still, I'll do my best to look at what's there. Jirobo's just a big, beefy meathead with a bunch of striking power. In base, he just casually lifts up this, like, 3 million pound piece of the fucking earth. I don't want to make any assumptions, and I don't want to play the comparison game, but the size of this thing is easily comparable to the size of the summons that Naruto was lifting around during his fight against Pain. And that's not to say that Jirobo is, like, Sage Naruto level in terms of physical strength or anything, but, I mean, the comparison's there, and it's very impressive given what we know about the other characters in this universe. He punches Choji hard enough to rupture the ground in a very significant Tsunade or Sakura-esque
Like,
fashion.
damn.
It's a bit hard to say how Jirobo stacks up against Sakura or Tsunade, but I think it's safe to say that the punch in this panel is easily comparable to the sort that Sakura could dish out in early Shippuden. If that's not enough for you, he also manages to lift Choji after he used the expansion jutsu to make himself the size of, like, the whole forest. And then he also has his neat ability to absorb the chakra of anybody caught inside of his Earth Dome barrier thing. The best part about all this is that Jirobo is supposed to be the weakest of the Sound Four, and based on how the other members of the team treat him, it's by a pretty noticeable margin, too. Kidomaru appears to be the smartest of the Sound Four. He was able to practically dissect the Byakugan despite the fact that he'd never seen it before in a matter of minutes, and as soon as he figured out how it worked, he did everything he could to efficiently exploit its weaknesses, which led to a really one-sided battle between he and Neji. While he doesn't possess the same insane strength as somebody like Jirobo, he's clearly a very tactical and technical fighter. He's very skilled with wires and other such tools used for laying out traps, as seen when he laid a 3-layered wire trap. There was one wire on top that was supposed to be clearly visible, then beneath that, there was another wire coated to camouflage it from the naked eye. This wire was supposed to seem like the real trap. Beneath it, there was a wire that was even more heavily coated to further camouflage it that no member of the Sasuke retrieval team, not even Shikamaru, could detect. I think this example is enough to prove that given the right tools and enough prep time, Kidomaru could be a real bitch to deal with. His spider webs are also ridiculous, like he claims that 2 elephants pulling on them from both sides couldn't even rip them apart. And as seen in his fight with Neji, he can just spam them endlessly, either in solid form or in the form of a liquid in order to halt his enemy's movements. He can emit this protective armor-like substance from every sweat gland in his body, and a couple shots from his bow nearly killed Neji. Tayuya's ridiculous. Her ability is, like, really complicated, and it might take its own video to explain thoroughly, but everything she does revolves around her flute. Initially, she uses this flute to control 3 summons, 3 massive summons, I might add, but she can also use it to perform genjutsu. It's auditory genjutsu, and it's clearly a very effective auditory genjutsu, as even Sasuke and Itachi were susceptible to its effects. Anyway, the 3 summons are humongous and are essentially like better versions of puppets. They allow her to engage her enemies in close quarters combat while she physically remains far away from them. All 3 summons can also emit this weird chakra substance that Shikamaru says seems to be made of spiritual energy, and this substance can like move all around the battlefield, and it has a whole bunch of mouths along. Like it's super bizarre. But whatever it is, they can munch on its enemies and steal their chakra. Once she's entered the second state, Tayuya is also pretty strong physically, as she was able to resist the effects of the shadow possession. Something that a group of like 11 Chunin couldn't even do, though it isn't made clear whether she possesses any noteworthy taijutsu skills or not. Then finally we have Sakon and Yukon, who have without a doubt the weirdest ability of the entire team. Anybody watching the video surely knows how it works. I doubt I have to explain it to you. They can conjoin their bodies with other bodies, and most of the time they're connected to one another. While in this state, they can move and project their limbs and other body parts to different areas of their opposite's body. For instance, during the fight against Kiba, one of them extended its arm from like inside of the other's face. It's ridiculous. If for whatever reason they sustain an injury that would rip their body in half, they can split apart into 2 separate bodies, and after this, they're capable of, it appears to be like a hybrid of regeneration and producing some sort of substance. After Kiba and Akamaru rip them in half with this crazy fang over fang attack, both Sakon and Yukon are left with 1 arm and 1 leg each, and then they both stand up after having produced these weird metal limbs out of nowhere. It's super strange, but it's something that they can do, and I'm sure it's an ability that comes in handy from time to time. Now, they can also merge their bodies with other people, like aside from themselves, and once they've done this, they can start rapidly destroying the cells inside of vital organs of the victim. It's a very effective assassination technique, but it doesn't work if the victim realizes that they can just self-harm in order to kill whichever of the 2 has entered their body. So I guess it's hit or miss depending on who they're fighting. So after taking all of this into consideration, despite the fact that yes, each of the members of the Sound Four did lose against Genin, I'd say that they're all easily at least mid-Chunin level. Some of them are probably above that, like mid-high or even high Chunin level. None of them them are individually at Jonin level. As a unit, they may be Jonin level. It's a bit hard to say whether they could take out somebody like Asuma or Kurenai while working as a team, but individually, none of them reached that point. Now, I did plan on talking about Kimimaro in this video, but that'd take way too long, and I didn't really have a lot of time on my hands to make this video, so I'm thinking about making this whole how strong is X character thing into a series. So if you guys want to see more videos like this, just, leave requests in the comments below. I'll get to talking about Kimimaro in the future. Of course, if you have any other video ideas you want to give me, leave them in the comments below as well. Let me know what you thought of this video. Make sure you have a great rest of the day, awesome. And until my next video, I'll talk to you later. Swagkage out. Bye.
What? Where's the outro? There we go. Yeah, that was cool. I hope he does more how strong is said person video thing, 'cause that was cool. Like, yeah, they're not overly powerful, but they were definitely memorable. My god, the fights they had were incredible. But yeah, I suppose he's right, they wouldn't really be that high up. But yeah, could you imagine if, like, even just one of them, that would have been cool. Imagine if one of them had survived and ran away, and then did get a time skip like everyone else did, and like Shippuden, and came back and were like stronger and had learned stuff and trained, and that would have been awesome. And then you could have had like Sasuke leaving Orochimaru with said remaining Sound 4 member, and then picking up the rest of the team that he does along the way, and that would have been cool. That would have been awesome. Anyway, because then Sasuke and that remaining sound person would have built up a bit of a rapport with each other over the time skip as well. That would have been cool. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. What did you guys think of that? What did you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys, yes, all of you guys, next time. Bye.